All right, guys, we're 2 minutes. If you want to start grabbing your food, grabbing your drinks, sneak over to the chairs.
No, it's fun on Amazon with like KFC already leaves. Yeah, it's like in a friend's backyard. We like go hang out at it's like a hangout space. We have parties at his place. Like chill in the dome. It's got like balloons and like a little bit of like a wood floor kind of thing we put together.
I've got a backyard and I need to fill it with something.
Yeah, I can send you the link. It's like it's not the cheapest thing, but yeah, it's like cool. It's like a cool little thing. He's been really struggling with it blowing away in the wind.
Okay.
So I don't know how that's gonna work out.
Nothing a couple cement blocks can't.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think if you take the cover off of it when it's not used, it's no problem. But, okay, let you guys do your thing.
Sounds good. I think we're about to get started.
Like, charge your
Yeah. These are. Yeah, I know these are nice.
Testing. 1 minute, y'all. If you're in the back, you want to start grabbing your stuff. There's a lot of seats here up in the front. I see you guys in the back. I see y'all in the back. I'm going to start calling names. I actually don't think I know a lot of names, so I won't be able to do that. I'll be able to call names. Oh, Ty. Hi, Ty's here.
Do we have a mic runner?
Do we have a mic
Volunteer?
runner? Oh yeah, I just do both. Testing.
We could
testing.
just
You want to
ask.
do it? All right, we got
Oh, nice.
a mic runner. Testing. We need the mic. Testing. We actually have two, so that could be helpful if you want. I don't think we have that many people, but yeah, if it's easier. All right, should we jump in, Nate? What do you say? I think we're at 6:30. Might as well.
Yeah, let's get it started.
All right, let me position my mic. Thanks for coming out, y'all. March edition. It's a little bit soon. We just had February. By the way, if you're talking, we can totally hear you. Like, it's very easy to hear. This room is like, acoustics are not great.
Speaking of you, Gabe,
Yeah, especially in the way in the back and in the kitchen, it's like super easy. Everything echoes and yeah, it's kind of a pain. So awesome. Thanks, y'all. Yeah, thanks for coming to the March edition. We had February like 2 weeks ago, I feel like. It was super recent, but we're changing things up. We're changing up the schedule. So yeah, it's now going to be the third, other than South by week, it's going to be the third Tuesday of every month. So it's like, should be more consistent, I think. That's good. But yeah, thanks to this time actually, even last month, our sponsor was Bitcoin Park, and we have Rod here in town. So thank you, Rod. All the food, the drinks, all that stuff is thanks to the park, thanks to the Commons. So yeah, shout out to them.
if you're wondering where Paul's in here, he's in Madeira.
Great point. Yeah, I didn't
So-
even. What am I doing? Yeah, Paul, our usual co-host, is in Madeira doing some cool dev stuff. Nate is our special co-host. He is a engineer at Zaporite.
I started as head of engineering at
Yes,
Zaporite in
yeah.
November. I used to work at Unchained
Yeah.
and Bull Bitcoin prior to that.
Yeah, so he's done a lot of insanely cool stuff, and yeah, good friend. Cool. So this is what we usually do here. Seeing some new faces. So the first half, I would say, is kind of, if you've ever been to a BitDevs or something like that, we'll go through a bunch of design links, inspiration, news, that kind of stuff. And then the second half, we usually do a design critique of, it's usually a Bitcoin product. Today, it's actually going to be some of the hackathon winners. So we'll be able to see their demos, critique what they've done from the things we've learned about, that kind of thing. So yeah, it should be fun. So let's just jump in. Who's here for the first time? I feel like I'm seeing a lot of new faces. Whoa. Okay. Nice. I'm guessing just you heard about it from Meetup or something like that, probably. Seeing nodded heads. Cool. Feedback. If you have any feedback after today, we have a feedback form, abdc.dev/feedback. We actually did get one feedback
Oh yeah, what
last
was it?
time. I think I had it at the end.
Might
Yeah,
have been mine.
add the links and the URLs, which I think is good feedback. It's like I've stopped doing that for 2 years now, so that's probably a good point. And then some of the design critiques, which we'll do later, but space for adding comments later. When we do a critique, we usually do it live and then send it to the developer afterwards. But I think it's a fair point to be like, keep it open for a few days.
Yeah,
People
somewhere
think
to
about it.
aggregate that
Yeah.
feedback so that whoever's submitting the crit could benefit more from
Yeah.
the experience.
Yeah, and then I think by next month we'll probably have like a Discord chat or something set up for the whole community. So that'll be kind of nice. I've been promising that for a while, so hopefully we do it. Cool. Should we just jump in? Ready to go? Cool. All right. So starting off, I usually do this. We don't need to go through all these, but if you are in, let me get this out of the way. If you're looking for a Bitcoin job, if you're like a freelancer looking to work for Bitcoin companies, there's a bunch of ways to find that. There's a lot of different companies hiring. We're not going to go through and scroll through this stuff, but basically Bitcoiner jobs is one way. Bitcoin Talent Co, bitcointalent.co is another one. And bitcointalent.co also has like a freelance thing where they'll connect you to companies who need freelance help, that kind of thing. So yeah, pretty cool. Check them out. All right. We plugged this last time. This is my newsletter. It's like a self promo a little bit, but somebody asked for links. This is kind of where some of the links go. Like usually this is the cool place to be where it's all happening in person and that happens. But at the end of this, I usually write a small newsletter with some of the stuff we talked about. Like, we talked about some of the stuff and I just pull it in every month and it's great. And yeah, I think I also plugged this last time, but I have a design podcast. So last time, episode 3 was with Sasha from Unchained, engineer.
That was a very good podcast.
was good?
I highly
Oh,
recommend it.
thanks,
Yeah,
man. Thank you. Wow.
Sasha's a fantastic engineer, but he's got thoughts that span all branches of product development. So
Definitely
highly recommend it. Working with him was a pleasure, and listening to his thoughts is always worth it.
100%. And then I also talked to Lee's lead designer at Fold. That was a cool episode too. And then also a lot of plugs here. Sorry guys, but episode 5 was February. That was with Mia White. She's a independent freelance designer. Worked with a bunch of different companies: Bull Bitcoin, Zapprite, Oshi, a bunch of other companies. So yeah, Studio 21 show. Check it out. It's fun. And I might be recording another one this week. So cool. Moving on. Ooh, this is a cool one. So this is a local Austin company. I don't think they're here right now, but no, they're not. Yeah, they left. Not really a Bitcoin company, but fair to say pivot from Mutiny Wallet. Yeah, fair to say. Okay.
But for those who don't know, Ben, Paul, and Tony used to work on something called Mutiny Wallet. And Ben, you left. Paul, I think, has left. And Tony and Marks, who had joined later, have pivoted to something called Open Secrets or Open Secret.
Yeah, and I think what they're doing is like tooling for other companies that need encryption stuff. I don't really understand it. Storage encryption.
If I may, I think I got the gist from Tony, which is that they want to ultimately build a super base, developer experience that has user data privacy built in. So it'd make it super easy for user data to be encrypted partially or wholly from day one, so that as a developer you can opt into that data storage model.
Yeah, what he said. But I think the cool part here is they just had a new their Open Secret brand, which Skylar here worked on, which is really cool. So you can kind of see. You'll see this as we scroll down, but like their use of color and these little like motifs you can see up here, these little pluses are really nice. Just little ornamentation. Scroll down. We'll do it this way so you can see.
Oh no, you're good.
Yeah, collaboration with Finance Supply. That's Skylar's agency. Security with technical elegance. Wow. Okay. The mark combines O and S, symbolizing open source secure enclave that houses your secret data. I think really for me, it's not just the logo in isolation. It's the whole package. It's like, if you look at this, it's like an S with an O. Okay. But
Open Secrets, yeah.
Open Secret. Yeah, right.
Also the fact that it's the S is inside of the enclave, which is part of their.
That's true. I guess I didn't think of that. But overall, the package is really nice. Like it's they're the black, the white, the gray, the purple, the neon. It's kind of unique, I think.
This is a very, I don't know, to me it screams Art Deco, the color palette.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, and Finite Supply is Skylar's agency. Really, really talented. Yeah, so you can see like the classic Skylar type that he used here. What did Skylar say here? Marks complete. Yep. And I think really, if I go here, this is the site. So come here. App infrastructure for the 21st century. Nice, tight copy. I feel like it tells me. I mean, what do you guys think? I feel like it tells me a little bit about what it is. Security UX. Infrastructure is a little bit vague, maybe. I guess I don't fully understand it. Keep going down. Ah, okay. I see. Smart. I wasn't scrolling. Confidential backend. See like the colors and the simple imagery, which probably gonna be nice and scalable for them actually. Like even if they go ahead without Skylar. What's up? Spinning.
Just like slowly, not in a weird way, just like the graphics should spin a little bit.
Just a little bit of motion, kind of. I could see that.
I like that. And they could spin like this, they could spin around an axis that makes sense, right? Like the cylinder would be clearly spinning in the
Same with
obvious
this
way.
one, the little melon thing. UX users already know. Nice. But yeah, I like these imagery because it seems like that's pretty scalable for the team. Like Tony and those guys can just probably throw it into like Mid-Journey or something and get similar stuff. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty great. Matches user expectation. That's your suggestion, basically. You're thinking like. Oh, you think so? Just like flow wise, or okay. Any other thoughts here on like Open Secret, their branding? Yeah, so this is Open Secret's website. Yeah, looks nice. Yeah, I like it.
If I hired Skylar, what kind of deliverable would I get? Like, what kind of deliverable did Open Secret get? Like, they got this logo, they got some colors. Like, what does a designer deliver?
I think it depends on who you're working with. Like, I think Skylar mostly did brand work. I don't think he did any UX work. I'm pretty sure. So in that case, you'll get, like you said, different like type hierarchy things. So maybe like, I mean, TLDR, like what kind of font to use when, where, colors, color applications, different, like I was showing here, different like ornamentation. So examples of poster type things or social media things like, oh, coming soon at the top, ornamentation, things like that. Illustration.
Like they gave him like 16 different logos and they're like all like completely different. So like it was like a multi-month process deciding everything. So it was like a lot of back and forth, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of choices to choose from, but once you kind of solidify, then it's just a matter of like, because what do you want at the end of the day as a company? You want the feel, and then what do I do with that? How do I actually use it? So I think that's what
Usually a typeface as well is
for sure
pretty primary in the brand.
for sure. And I think something like this, and so this is probably just Enter. Yeah, well, it's not Enter, but something close probably. So yeah. Any other thoughts? I don't know if there was one. Was there one? Key. I actually don't even remember, to be honest. Yeah, I don't remember. This is just so ingrained in my mind now that Maple AI. Oh yeah, App Showcase. Yeah.
Yeah, so to showcase the actual Open Secret platform, they built Maple AI.
Nice. All right, cool. That was Open Secret. Quick one here. Oh, you got it? Yeah. So Joshua, this is a really quick one. It's just like more of a mention, but he used to be head of design at Strike. Now he's head of design at Fold. So shout out to Josh. Yes. Oh yeah, good point. I'm glad you brought that up. So this was like maybe a year or two ago. he did the redesign for Strike way back in the day, if anyone remembers that. And we basically had him in remotely call in and just give all like the justification of why this and why that. And I think it was like, yeah, some people liked it, some people hated it, but it was really cool to get his.
Was that when we completely tore it apart?
Yeah. And it was really cool because he was like so what was it? He was like totally open to hearing it, and I feel like he gave justifications for everything.
Have they changed anything since, or is it pretty much? I haven't used Strike.
I think Strike is about the same. Is it? Yeah. So that's Strike, but now he's joined Foam, so that's pretty cool. Cool to see that. All right, quick one there. Oh, this is a confusing one. So okay, I say this every time. I'm an advisor for Bitcoin Keeper. I'm not gonna prime and say what I think about this, but Nate and I we were looking at this. So this is a. Oh, what did I do? Ark. Okay. So this is a new feature from Bitcoin Keeper. It's basically like it's a Bitcoin wallet. It's a mobile wallet.
Maybe let the video play and see if
Let it
anybody
play?
can guess what
See what.
is happening here.
Well, I was
in
going
the
to give some
UX.
context as to like with the app and that kind of thing. So it's a Bitcoin wallet, and they're just introducing a new feature, and they're showing it off. So. And we'll see if people can get what's going on.
I don't want to taint people's
Mm-hmm.
reading here. Try to just you tell us what is happening after this video is done.
Might be going a little fast. I don't know. Okay, now it's just signing and stuff, but okay, broadcasted. What do we think happened? Do we want to replay it? Was it too fast?
Yeah, it's mostly that first section that I think we're interested in trying to.
I slowed. Okay.
Batching multiple transactions.
Hmm.
Okay.
Batch send. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
basically it. It's batch send. Oh, where it was coming from? Okay, so this is all the batch sends. You're thinking here?
It is because they have 1,000 wallets, but
Okay, so this is. Oh, interesting. So this is sending to one of your own wallets. That's what they tapped. I think it's just hard to see in the video, but they said send to one of your wallets. And then, yeah, Ben, it was just like they have a lot of saved wallets, so it looked a little bit nuts. And also, they're going really fast. Send from, okay, picking fees.
I think what's missing for me is like the first time I watched this, and I might have been influenced by the fact that I'd never seen this app before, but I felt like there was just a context, like a contextual shell that was missing during the batch generation, because you're potentially doing 5 or 6 of these, and you're gonna go to another app, find those addresses, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna come back and you'd be like, where was I?
What am I
again?
doing?
What am I doing? Oh yeah, I'm in the middle of creating a batch transaction.
And which one is this? Is this like the third one?
That's
or
nowhere here, right?
not
How many have I
here.
done already at this point? Did I already do this address, right? Like, oh,
Number of recipients. Okay, so you pick here. I wonder why they chose this. Maybe because they wanted space to send to one of your own wallets or something, and they wanted User develop, add a new one.
Address amount, so it's like instead of like they don't have to recreate a whole new screen for all that. It's just like reuse these components.
And then here too, I guess, yeah, they have recipient 1 of 5, which, yeah, I don't know. It just seemed hard. Any other thoughts here? Yeah. Oh, got 2. Good. Yeah, so this is on Twitter. Sneak peek at the new batch transactions feature coming to Keeper. Ah. I could see like a Loom video or something, like with a little face in the corner being like, hey, this is...
Yeah. Come on. Use Loom at least at a minimum, right?
All right, I'll give them this advice, yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead. So you mean at the end here? Ah. Oh.
Right. Amount to send, sending to should be squished almost into its own card. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I think we've talked about like the proximity and other stuff like that. That's a good point. Yeah.
Right. What principle are they violating?
Oh, there's probably
for
like
those of you who've been here before.
There's probably like 7 with the same name or different names that are all the same thing. Proximity. I don't know. Who knows? Group is probably something else like that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
This is why for like certain features in Bitcoin, it's like I just want to go back to Electrum. Like this is supposedly better UI. Like this is better UI in like every way for kind of like my everyday low effort kind of use cases. But as soon as I start doing stuff like this, I'm like, why am I not in Electrum where they're going to give me 5 inputs stacked on top of each other?
Like Sparrow or
numbered
something.
1 through 5, and it's just the blank. It's like no design actually becomes easier when like an empty form. Here's what's required. When you kind of don't know what you're doing, which how many people really have a good intuition when they're going through a flow like this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
I love how we're now meta-critiquing the tweet itself.
Yeah, I like it. That's true.
It would have already been better had they said, looking for feedback. What do you guys think? This is a rough draft, or like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe like you said, just like an abstracted version of a marketing image of like, okay, now we're batch transactions coming soon. Yeah. What was that? Nothing sneaky. Oh, sneak peek.
Here's what we need to start doing when we're critiquing tweets like this. We need to live retweet or tweet back, reply
quote tweet.
all of these comments.
Yeah.
Right?
This sucks. No, that's a good point.
From the ABDC account.
From the
right? So we start
generate
shipping.
buzz. Yeah, generate like. Yeah, we all go. Yeah, we just ratio all these companies trying to ship cool products. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I like it, and then we won't say. Yeah. All right. Cool. Moving on. So we try to every month we tried to touch on one of these UX laws or principles, that kind of thing. So this one's probably one everyone's heard of. There's not like a ton to say here, honestly, but the highlights are not showing up. 1 second. Yeah, there it is. Occam's razor, probably everyone's heard about, I think. If you have a bunch of different hypotheses or ideas, the one with the fewest assumptions should be selected. So if you want to reduce complexity, avoid it in the first place. And if you have a bunch of elements, you want to remove as much as possible without, getting rid of the actual functionality. A lot of this stuff sounds like just platitudes almost, I feel like sometimes.
Yeah, Occam's razor, like in philosophy, is a kind of slightly different thing than in engineering and design. And engineering and design is really delete, delete, delete until the thing it no longer serves the purpose it was intended for. At which point you re-add that last thing you deleted, and now you've probably reached rock bottom in terms of simplicity.
Yeah, exactly. Let me try to open up notes here again. So eliminate unnecessary elements, analyze each element and remove as many as possible without compromising the overall function. I think a lot of people, I've seen this with developers as well, is just like people think that if you add everything in, people want that, but actually is Pareto principle. Most of the time, it's just like a few things that people actually want. And the other stuff you can probably hide under like progressive disclosure or some sort of accordion or hide things away. Just a quick Occam's razor. Any thoughts on this principle? Just something to think about. It's not like, I just like having these things in your back pocket when you're building something. You're like, oh, does this, if you know the rules, you can break them, but at least just it's a nice little check to make sure. I'm going to think about.
It's very easy as a product builder, be it a designer or an engineer, to keep things on the page in case one of your users wants to do a certain thing, when in reality you should be hiding.
Yeah.
Behind, like you said, progressive disclosure, and really designing for the Pareto distribution of your users.
Yeah, cool. Any thoughts here?
I would also just add, like, when you're deep in a project, whether it's design or whatever it may be, like, sometimes the simplest solution might actually be super complex. So that's where asking like a buddy, getting fresh eyes on it, is like, hey, does this actually make sense? And then they'll be like, why is this positioned there? And you'll be like, actually, I don't know. I'm just drowning in this in this report. That's why.
Oh, like simplest might be the most complex because you're just like,
yeah, because like what seems simple to you when you're so deep into a project might not actually be simple at all.
Oh,
so if you get a fresh perspective, then they're like, well, what are you trying to gain with this post or with this design? It's like, well, I want the user to sign up, or I want the user to, I don't know, click here. But it's like, okay, well, you have bells and whistles on the opposite side of the page, so.
True. All right. Any no thoughts? Cool. Moving on. Ooh, okay, this one's cool. You really like this one, Nate.
I did. I loved this when I saw it because it reminded me of. Do you have the image of Jimmy? You guys probably know Jimmy Song's book, Programming Bitcoin, and he's got these like hex code for transaction information, and he's highlighting the different sections, explaining what those are. That's what this reminded me of because it's telling you what part of a modal.
This one.
Yeah, that. It's breaking down the modal in like a semantic fashion, explaining to you what you should be trying to convey to the user and how you could be doing it poorly versus how you should be doing it.
Visually, semantically, yeah, right. So like the top. So these are both error modals. Like when you do something wrong and the app tells you like, oh, you either we fucked up or you fucked up or whatever. So the top one is what they're considering bad. So you can see why he's calling it bad. So the top, there's like an inappropriate tone, like whoops. And maybe that's subjective. Maybe you want that tone in your app, but in this case, it's inappropriate. And then here, it's passing the blame. So the third party you're trying to connect isn't responding. And then there's technical jargon. So we can't fetch your data. It's kind of technical. And then try again later is super generic. I hate it when I see that try again later. It's like, it's the worst. And then one thing they forgot to add is the close. It just doesn't there's nothing else for me to do. I just feel kind of lost. I feel like I feel like I have no control. And then the good one, how they're modifying it, be a little bit better maybe. So you say what happened is like, okay, unable to connect your account. So you can compare. It's like what actually happened. I know what happened right away. Then provide reassurance. So your changes were saved, but we couldn't connect your account. So that's what happened. Due to a technical issue on our end. So we don't have that like fetch your data, or like in Bitcoin case, it could be like, because I don't know, fees, something about fees or something like really autistic. I don't know. Yeah, just abstract that away.
Yeah, I just love the layout, right? The what, the reassure, why,
Help them fix it.
help,
Try
and
connecting.
then next action.
Yeah.
And I think this kind of like error communication is so easy to overlook. For one, you think that your thing's never going to break, right? So you just kind of slap on error messaging as a last mile thought. When in reality, this is where you lose users most of the time, in whatever reason. Network connection when they were first logging in and trying to fill out your KYC form. Okay. And now they hit an error, and you never thought about how to properly communicate it and what for them to do next. And now you just lost a user. So I think a lot of apps could benefit from, well, we're getting a lot of feedback.
Yeah, there's
a lot of apps could benefit from just, and it is quite simple, really. It's just a formula that you apply. So a little bit of forethought around this, I think, could save churn.
We should all test out Zaprite's error flows now and see. Oh, you mean in the actual UI, or just for us to like learn? Yeah. Yeah. That's a fair point, actually. Yeah. Maybe bullets with like icons or something like that. Break it up. Any other thoughts here on this kind of thing?
Really good errors in Bitcoin, or like really good error messages.
It's probably the typical ones like Cash App or something, I would imagine. I don't think Sparrow would. I don't know if Sparrow has error messages. Oh, what was that? The ones that don't have error messages?
Speaking of Zaprite, John, did you just show up?
He did.
Did you see this? I think you
He's
would
like-
appreciate this. Well, I'm not going to like repeat it, but it's basically a way of structuring error messages for your users in a friendlier way to avoid them dropping off or getting lost and frustrated. It's a
Or just
formula
being,
for
yeah.
success in terms of application errors.
Contact customer support is more than just changing the structure of, or the verbiage. You know what I mean? Like, try again later. There's probably not a customer support team. You know what I mean? You can't just say
I see.
oh yeah, contact the lone developer who built this thing. He doesn't want to hear, you know?
Yeah.
Right. I get what you mean.
Yeah, it's more than just.
But it doesn't have to be contact customer care. It could just be like, go back to the home page, like some sort of action to offboard the user from this situation right now, just to try to keep them in the app. Yeah.
Actually, yeah, Ben was basically just like a button, and actually this one has that, which is totally a good point.
Anybody else get like visibly angry when you have like whoops, like a whimsical fucking message when you do something wrong? Like I'm like, what do you mean whoops? Like, just tell it to me straight.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
Sibling, then they're going to expect, like, their users are going to want to see something that relates to their brand, and that might be really important to them. But I think that you can add actually what happened underneath the fun tagline that says, sorry, we stuffed up, this is what it was, and also take accountability. Have some accountability,
Yeah.
take responsibility. If the error was on your side, Just own it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think definitely like if Unchained said whoops, I would be kind of annoyed. I would be like, Jesus, okay. If Cash App did, maybe that's
And
more
it's
okay.
gone.
Yeah.
I think it really is the something went wrong that people have a bone to pick with here.
Really?
That's the verbiage. The whoops, I agree, is just, it's fun. It can be fun, but the something went wrong, you see that everywhere, and it's like,
That's
wait,
true.
you're telling me you don't know what went wrong? Come on.
Interesting. Huh? Oh, what's up, Alex?
Do you have like a better suggestion for just like a last resort catch-all error message? I mean, that seems like what the role it's serving, and then people are just lazy and don't implement all the other ones. But do you have a better idea for like a catch-all?
That's a good point because maybe it sounds like what you're saying is like, do you really want to make a custom one for every possible case?
I mean, it's lazy. It's
Yeah.
fundamentally like you add this one thing, like something went wrong because that applies to anything that you don't write an error message for. So like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
The issue where you see this stuff comes from when you're engineering something, and no matter how many tests the engineers write to try and make sure that nothing goes wrong, no matter how much effort you try into making something bug free, something unexpected is inevitably going to happen, like inevitably. And so like that's the kind of paradox of these kind of error messages when we say something went wrong. I agree, as a designer, I don't like it either, but it is kind of one of these like fundamental problems of engineering that there will be times where something happens and we are literally incapable of determining what it is at this moment in time.
Well said.
I think there's
Well
a hand in
said.
the back. That's crazy.
There's a collection of errors like 100 or 200 or 300 or 400 or 500 like status messages, right? So status message 500 is like there's something wrong on our side. 400 is there's something wrong on your side. So like to your question, Alex, what's the right message to have at any given point? You could at least have 4 default error cases.
For 500 is something went wrong. We don't know.
No, something went wrong on our side.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to do that either, right?
Ship them a source map. I think the overall point that we're getting at is that yes, it's inevitable that certain things will happen that we don't know where they originated from, and the idea is to do a little extra work in terms of the error handling to push the odds of that happening lower, and being a little more communicative about the things we can understand the origins of.
Just because of this conversation, I'm having a little idea that anyone can use. I would like there to exist like some type of AI guy in the back that understands the problem or can read the problem and then sends me like something that looks like a handwritten note for like every different type of error that there could possibly be. This is kind of like the conflict of like the robot's doing this, but it looks personal for you.
Huh. Just explain what happened.
Personalized 500.
Personalized 500. Okay, I like it.
I want to throw in something I just remembered is on the action of like close or contact support. A good one is check our status page. You know, like status.voltage.cloud, and like that's what GitHub does. When GitHub has an issue, they're like, oh, something's wrong. Check our status page, and then you go to the status page, and then everything's okay.
Or
You're
your
like,
socials,
Well, I
right?
guess let me try a different brand. All of a sudden, then you're like, well, they're showing me that it's not on their side. Like maybe it's the Wi-Fi here, right? All of a sudden, it's like you're not mad at GitHub, and you know, I don't know. There's something about that's cool.
Well, it's like yesterday when X was down, there was no error. It just said retry.
Yeah.
And you would just have to keep retrying. It's like that's almost worse.
That's the worst, yeah.
Because then you're like, you have to get the news that X is down from a different news source.
Yeah.
And you're just contributing to the DDoS.
For sure, but that's I feel like that any social media when it goes down, it just like you just can't refresh the page, so you don't know if it's the same thing as like something went wrong. You don't know if it's.
So
on
if you have
your
that
end or
status
theirs.
message, maybe, or that status page, maybe.
Yeah, but it's also like if I'm Elon or Zuckerberg, like Zuckerberg in the Facebook movie, like Facebook doesn't go down, so he doesn't want to put the blame on himself. So that's probably some of it too, where they want you to.
Oh,
down,
right.
They want you to
down
your own system,
ISP
yeah.
or whatever. That's a
Yeah.
good point, actually. Yeah. Good counterpoint. Yeah.
Thought about that.
critical error where they don't actually know what goes on like your desk or your laptop, doesn't Apple actually give you a stack trace and then you can be like send to Apple? You know? I feel like when you do see this, it probably is laziness where they do kind of know what the error is and they're just not going to show you because they don't want to. If it was a true error that they don't know, they should really give you a way to upload that somewhere.
Yeah, it's like when
I think
it's like this application closed unexpectedly. Do you want to report it? Yeah, I never report it.
I never know what that does, and I don't know if anyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never send those debugs.
Yeah.
I like that. Incentivized bug reporting.
Nice. Cool. Moving on. This one's actually really cool, and I think we only have like 5-ish minutes, so until the next section. But I think this one, I think this one, I was almost like, I was like, wow, this is a good post. So linear is kind of like it's an issue tracking tool. Developers probably know about it, but it's like Jira but cooler, basically. Alex is nodding his head. Yeah, so this is basically, they launched a new feature that's related to customer feedback, customer needs, that kind of thing, but they tied it into this really great article or post about customer needs. And the paradox between, so the feedback paradox we're talking about here is between what we think of like product vision. So the example they give are like nobody asked for iPhone, Airbnb, or Figma. That's like vision. But then there's also you can't ignore feedback completely. So there's that paradox of just like if you completely ignore feedback, you'll be irrelevant eventually. But there's also like vision and intuition. So how do you balance those two things? And also, yeah, this is very real. I don't know if you feel this way, Nate, but like there's so many startups. I'm thinking of like Amy, and I don't even know what. There's all these like social apps that are just so well crafted and kind of visionary, but then they don't really go anywhere. They just die. So there's that paradox.
Yeah, so I think that what Linear has built here is a customer feedback tool similar to FeatureBase. There are many like examples out there of apps like that you can put a button on your website, let your users submit like a GitHub issue type of post, and then other users can see them and comment on them, upvote them, and aggregate user feedback. Linear, it seems to be a good place to aggregate user feedback because it's where your team manages tickets. And so I haven't looked at the actual product yet that they've released, but presumably it'll be very integrated into Linear. It'll be a place to aggregate user feedback, potentially have other users who are visiting your feedback link see other people's submissions, and then as a team parse, evaluate, summarize, try to widen the breadth of the feedback to all the feedback so that you can solve not the particular problems of each user, but more the general problems that the sum of your users are expressing to you. And I think this is something that Zapprite is probably going to be interested in. John spends a ton of time channeling in a lot of customer feedback, Telegram groups, Basecamp, and freaking you name it, like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 different channels. And none of those customer feedbacks really interface with each other. So I think we're, as a startup, kind of at a point in time when the amount of customers that are providing feedback is growing sufficiently to merit using a tool like this. So we're going to be exploring that, and maybe next time I could tell you how it goes.
No, that would be cool. And I think just related to that, I think it's worth almost verbatim literally reading out what some of the stuff they said here. What Carrie mentioned is like, the best products come from strong opinions informed by customer reality, which is what Nate was talking about, the feedback. Customer feedback serves as the whetstone that sharpens intuition rather than the source. But I really like this. Users rarely articulate their core problems directly. They describe symptoms. So like, for example, the things that customers asked Linear to build that made this feature was, give us custom fields because we just want custom fields. And they had the real intention in their brain, but it was Linear's job to take the literal ask. And then to your point, Nate, like actually formulate what is the core of what they wanted. So yeah, they're expressing a deeper need that our job as product people is to analyze and be like, okay, that's what they actually want.
And how does it relate to like these 4 other customers'
Yes.
specific requests? And what is the underlying general problem that they are expressing as a collective, such that the engineering can address that? And that's not only more fun to work on as an engineer, but it's also just more powerful, because now you are effectively catching the untold amount of customer feedback that may come in the future that would fall under that bucket.
Yeah, and this last line here really hits me hard. Is like, and I'm sure we've all felt this maybe to some extent if you worked on a product team. Is like, product teams don't create successful products by amassing feature requests. It's like if you just do everything people say, you're gonna have like a Frankenstein product. So, and I think Jira kind of became that, which is why Linear now exists probably. Let me see if this is worth highlighting.
There's an old Paul Graham blog post. I think it's called How to Talk to Users, but that might be a different one. But how he summarizes this is like, listen to what your users say and don't do what they tell you, but hear the pain behind what they're telling you.
Yeah.
It's the pain behind what they're telling you. That's what you want to think about, because the ideas they're going to give you are garbage.
End quote.
It's like that old Ford quote. I think it goes something like, if I asked the customers what they want, they would have said a faster horse.
That is literally
I think
in their
that's-
article.
I think it's up
Yeah.
here. Yeah, right here.
Very good.
Or equip that. It's the jobs thing. Yeah, that's so true. And yeah, like the last thing it says, develop your product intuition by immersing yourself in customer feedback. So that's what we're talking about, while trusting your ability to see patterns and needs they cannot articulate. And that's where the vision and intuition comes in, I think. So it's like combination. I don't know. I thought it was great. I thought it was, as usual, these guys are crushing it.
I'm looking forward to seeing what this product actually
Yeah.
looks like inside of Linear.
Unfortunately, we don't use Linear at Foundry. When we also
Should.
use Teams, we don't use Slack. God, I just don't get me started. yeah. You do? Wow. Okay. Ben uses Linear. Nice. Any other thoughts here on just building stuff, building cool stuff?
Sorry, one more thing.
Yeah.
But implicit in this idea, and they say that like something about it's like the whetstone for sharpening your instincts. I think there's this idea that like with feedback and with kind of like the lean startups idea that someone out there or some combination of people will tell you what to do. And you just need to find the right thing that someone else will tell you what to do, and then you do it. But it's like this philosophy is like, no, you got to ask 1,000 people and then figure out what they're really telling you that no one's actually telling you. And I think that's like much more empowering, and it frames it as more of like an art and less of just like this pragmatic, find the perfect product market fit and it'll just work. It's like,
Yeah. Point. Ooh.
Product quality is a customer retention tool, and product differentiation is a customer acquisition tool. So
Wait, say that one more time.
that product quality is a customer retention tool, and product differentiation is a customer acquisition tool.
I like
So like a super young business responding to a lot of kind of nitpicky little requests is like definitely distracting themselves, because they're gonna, they need to just get more extremely different than what else is out there, is the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can only work on one thing at a time. Work on the thing that is different from what the customers were getting somewhere else.
Well, it's interesting because I feel like Linear is the exact opposite of that, right? Like I don't know how much differentiation they have, but their quality is. I feel like they do less, but way better. Than
Is there a
Jira.
differentiation when you construct a high enough level of quality? Is
Yeah,
that a
maybe.
differentiation in and of
I guess
itself?
so. Yeah, I
They
guess so.
they could blend counterpoint to what you were saying, but I agree. But you could imagine a startup being in a situation where there is a specific customer who is very valuable, And so there is this tension between, you know, the master plan vision for the startup and get that money. You know what I mean? So for those of you out there who've built startups, like that can be a very real thing that you could end up pigeonholing yourself, building that custom integration for a specific client because they're going to give you that money. But sometimes that's just what you got to do. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, this is really awesome. I'm also realizing we're a little bit over time, so yeah, I mean, this is great. And we definitely, as always, I'm always like, oh, we're never gonna have enough, and we only make it halfway through. so yeah, it's a very good problem to have. So yeah, I think now what we want to do, we usually do the design critique at this point on the second half, and this time we have the hackathon that happened before here, Nifty's hackathon. So that's exciting. I think the top 3 people are here. I think is Julie here? No, maybe not. I think. Oh, top 3 is here. Okay, great. So maybe we do just start with just reverse. I guess we could do like third. Yeah.
Sure. 3,
maybe
2,
maybe
1.
quick demo. I would say like under 5 minutes if you can.
Well, I would say maybe 1, 2, 3, just because
1, 2, 3.
We'll tend to spend a little more time on the first, and
Right.
since they were the winners, they deserve it.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. Sounds good. 1. Maybe we start with 1. Maybe a quick demo under 5 minutes, and then we just do like a live design critique. We can start with like why and all that kind of stuff, and it'll be fun. Who's won? Who's first? Actually, I didn't.
BitDoom.
Oh, of course, Steven winning every hackathon in existence. I think he's won
There should be a prize for that.
a meta
Yeah.
prize. Yeah.
At the end of the year. Just
Yeah. Okay, so maybe we should
the Oscars of hackathons, you know.
This is a 2-hour hackathon. 2-hour AI. 2-hour hackathon.
Yeah, this is a 2-hour hackathon, so all of what they're about to show is built in
2 hours. That's generous nowadays.
Steven, you want to jump in?
Does this go to an audio as well?
I think it should, right?
It's not required. It just, I want to like burst everyone's eardrums. Are you being shy, Chad? What do you say? You're not about to what?
Of course.
I kind of feel like just to be safe, I need to like open this in like a new browser tab or something. Okay. So it basically will work, right?
I'm in right now.
Oh, cool.
I don't have the audio on though.
Yeah, I'm gonna crank up the jams, man. Yeah, perfect. All right, cool. Hi, I'm Steven.
What's up? I'm Chad.
So our project is called BitDoom. I'll explain what BitDoom is. I'll go ahead and say, I'll reiterate what Alex said. This looks like shit. It was a 2-hour hackathon. Most days of the week, I identify as a designer, but not today. Today, I was a vibe coder. So I think the kind of feedback that's the most useful during this is probably not how it looks, but maybe more like product feedback, like what kind of features you'd be interested in seeing, which I'm not going to implement as per the last discussion. I'm going to try to get to the root of your pain and figure out what you really want out of BitDoom. So what is BitDoom? It's an immersive first-person shooter experience powered by Bitcoin. Not really powered by, it's more of a marketing term, but just being blunt. So basically what it is you're going to pay with Lightning. We're going to let you into the game at that point. You're now in the game with 1,000 sats. Everybody's going to try and kill you and take your Bitcoin. So you need to try and kill them instead. And if you do kill them instead, you take their Bitcoin. But now everybody's going to try and come after you because you have more Bitcoin. So this is a back and forth king of the hill battle. And then you need to escape from the exit portal once you feel like you've racked up enough sats and then cash out. So yeah. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Chad, would you like to say anything at this point? Like any comments? Okay. Just jump in whenever you want to, all right? All right. Let's see. So we're going to go to bitdoom.app. And it has an AI generated soundtrack as well for the game. And I'm going to enter my Lightning address here. And then let's see, let me pull out a Strike or something and try and pay this. Let's see if I can figure out how to use a computer. Thank you for the product feedback. You're right. The AI forgot to do it. Come on, pay Strike. I thought you were supposed to be like the best Lightning node in the world or whatever. Oh, for fuck's sake. Somebody else want to pay my Lightning invoice for me? I promise I won't lose your Bitcoin. I'm really good at this game. I beat Alex at this game earlier. There we go. Okay, I'm in the game now. So this is a little weird. I'm not going to lie without my mouse, but I think we have some zombie players there, but I think Chad is Proud Links over there. So as you can see, I'm going to try and shoot him, and he's shot me, so my health is down to 90%. I have 1,000 sats at the bottom of the screen. I don't know why it keeps, like, the music keeps cutting out, but it doesn't really matter. Oh, who is this? We have Brave Badger back there? Who's that? Oh, crap, more people. Oh, man, I'm racking up. I got like 4,000 sats now. How'd that happen? Maybe Chad had a bunch of Bitcoin.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, crap, are people actually joining the game now? Holy crap. Using the mouse. Okay, the portal's open. I got to get to the chopper, and I got to see if I can get to the chopper and cash out before somebody kills me. I'm only at 30% health. Oh, the portal disappeared. Now I have to fight for my life. So I'm probably about to lose my Bitcoin in the next like couple minutes here. Okay. Oh, I'm doomed. Oh, crap. Somebody got me. So yeah, now I can respawn. But now that I've respawned, I have 0 sats. So yeah, that's basically it. I know we're running on a long time, so I'll stop it there. Product feedback, questions, comments? What sucks? What's up?
This is obviously a version 0. What do you want to build?
I want to fix all the bugs, like get it so that people can't spawn camp you while you're paying your Lightning invoice, Alex. I also want to make sure the withdrawal system isn't so buggy. I want to make the floor lava, and if you fall and you have to jump on platforms, and if you fall into the lava, then Chad and I get your Bitcoin. I want to. Chad wants to add in so you can zap and put your own advertisements into the game itself. So yeah, all kinds of product features really. We want to make it like Sonic so that if you shoot somebody, all the Bitcoin falls out of them like the rings in Sonic and you have to run around collecting everything. We want to add in a feature to where if you're trying to get to the portal before it closes, you can hold down shift to like boost, but it'll burn some of your sats. But it'll get you to the portal on time, so are you comfortable losing some of the Bitcoin to escape? So yeah, well, this is gonna be a whole like thing.
So I want to just like frame how we could approach design creating this, because like as you just explained, there are a million things that we could add, turn it into an amazing FPS game. And so perhaps the better framing for this conversation is, what could they have done better in the hackathon, right? What about this? Try to zoom out and look at the wrapper, the framing, the meta aspect of what they built, how they showed it off at the hackathon. And so from a design crit perspective, we could help them with their next hackathon in that sense, right? Not so much, oh, you should add this feature and that feature. It's like, obviously, there's a million cool things they could build and will hopefully build. So yeah, I just want to frame the conversation like that.
So when you first join, it's just like enter a Lightning address. If you're trying to get a bunch of users, they're not going to have a Lightning address. They don't even know what Lightning is. So it'd be better if it was like you just play, and then if you happen to win money, then you can you like, oh, sign up with Strike or whatever, give them a ref code, and then it's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's a great idea actually. And one idea we had discussed is like maybe all the people who fall into the Lightning and lose their Bitcoin, that could go into like a new player pool. Mm-hmm. So it like basically funds new people entering the game or something like that. Or we could just give people some free tries or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe one thing you could do, I've seen on like similar games, is when the player drops in, have a quick explainer modal before
Yeah.
you have like the first user action. Like, this is an FPS game, works with Bitcoin, put in a lightning dress, pay to play, and then try to win money. Just yeah, but at least it's there if you don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I may agree. There does need to be some optional, skippable, but present introduction. Yeah, it would be useful, I think.
Actually, I want to push back against the framing. I think you all did exactly the right thing. Like, these are the exact minimal features that you'd want. It's like the minimum lightning integration, the minimum shooter, and then the minimum full end-to-end loop of the game. I can't really imagine what you could have taken away and or traded off and done instead of to have a better MVP demo. So I think really all the right trade-offs were made. But show me red when I'm getting shot so I can tell.
Oh yeah, I want to add some grunting and all that.
It's probably a harsh critique, but maybe if you would focus on different type of games, something 2D, then you can play with the gamification of the Bitcoin aspects a little more, and that might be an interesting part versus, you know, the graphics of the first-person shooter game. That's kind of difficult, and that's maybe like the weakest point of your thing.
Yeah. So how do we use AI? So, I mean, first we used bolt.new to scaffold the framework of it. And we basically, said, build us, first person, the beginnings of a first person shooter game, give us a floor that goes on forever with a space texture, 4 columns in the middle, use 3JS. And, we told it what libraries to use basically. It scaffolded the project and then downloaded that. I took that into Cursor Agent and pair programmed with the AI agent in that. Or pair program is not really the right term. More like you're my senior engineer and I'm your PM, and I just tell you what to do on stand up every day, sort of thing. And then I used Midjourney to create the character sprites, the Marines, the logo, and the slide deck, all of that. I used Clip Drop to remove the backgrounds and refine the artwork, like cleaning up details in that. And used Suno for generating the soundtrack.
So can I ask 2 questions?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so you asked for feedback that like would be constructive for the hackathon, but I guess the question that I would ask is like, what would you have built next if you had an extra 20 minutes? And then I have a question about your workflow. It sounds like you've got a lot of different tools and tool sets that are set up already. Can you maybe describe that a little bit? And also, if you've got that shared somewhere or documented somewhere, it would be super constructive for other devs who are trying to like level up our ability to use these tools.
Sure. Chad, what would you build in the next 20 minutes?
Yeah, I'd probably just add more sounds, like to walking, and I'd probably fix when an enemy is like shooting at you, you can't really see the projectile coming at you. That's probably what I would have done.
I agree. Quality of life stuff. I don't know if I have it documented somewhere, but I'm sure I could. I mean, I have there's some stuff going on the ATL BitLab podcast about like AI, like art design, AI workflows from one of our BitLab, yeah. ATL BITLAB. And we're a Bitcoin hackerspace in Atlanta. So I have that will be going live soon. It's called AI Will Not Take Your Job, but a senior designer using AI will. And then I did a talk for Pleb Lab at the top builders where we kind of go through using Cursor Agent and doing UX research to kind of like rapidly iterate as an engineer to like rapidly iterate through product prototypes by basically kind of taking the user feedback and, finding design examples online and feeding that into Cursor. So I don't know if I have like a full stack thing because it kind of just depends on the situation and what you need, but those might be good video resources for you. All right.
right, team 2.
Sweet.
Let's see.
No. Oh, it's got like. Really high resolution. Right. Cool. So, hello everybody. Our project's called Core Explorer, and the goal of it is to create sort of like a way to display, measure, and sort of track how much peer review each line of code that goes into Bitcoin gets, right? So we're trying to like figure out how to watch the watchers, so to speak. And I think there's a lot of cool ways that we can deal with this stuff, different ways to display it. Most of the code that goes into Bitcoin is fantastic, but every once in a while there are what we call self merges, right? And that's like the big baddie, right? And the big baddie is like somebody that has both write access to Bitcoin Core, so they're a maintainer, also merges a commit where they were a contributor to that commit. And the worst case scenario would be like they do a self merge and nobody else reviewed the code. And so with this website, the idea was, well, let's get some, we can look at open PRs, closed PRs, and merged PRs. We can look at the active maintainer list, and the maintainers actually change over time. So that's something that kind of complicates it a little bit. We have the data from Bitcoin, from the GitHub repo, and let's say we go and look at the merged PR. The idea here is it takes you to the website with a little bit more information, shows you the contributors, shows you, how much code they contributed each in percentage terms. It shows you the reviews, and the reviews are like comments that people make and whether they act or not or this or that, right? What their opinion on or conclusions were. It shows you some commit data, and it has a little bot. And the bot is very helpful if you ask it, tell me more about this PR. It gets a document with relevant information about the PR, and now you can talk to the PR. You can sort of have a discussion with AI to help you explore the PR. And this is actually like a legit LLM query, like it actually is a real AI response. So that's a project. Yeah, we did a lot of other stuff. We actually had like four different implementations of it. This is the prettiest one. But yeah.
I think we spent a bunch of time on the prompting of the functionality, and we've previously spent some time thinking about this project. So we had a good sense of what we wanted to display, and had previously written some code that performs some of these steps already, but we didn't have to use that for this trick because the robots were able to help us out. I'd be really curious to hear about so the idea that we're after here is like risk mitigation for core, and there are a lot of opinions about how to mitigate the centralization risk at core, and I think there are reasons to be alert to the possibility that some maintainer could like ship some bullshit code, or that some pair or group of maintainers could ship bullshit code. I'd be really interested to hear about what you think the risks are that aren't obvious, or like how would you go about the process of looking at the data that is in the Git folder within the Bitcoin repo, or which is actually on on the GitHub website, but also, obviously the functionality, like what would be useful to see on this webpage?
Maybe to inform my response to that, who do you imagine is the user of this app? Is it another maintainer? Is it some random, third party on the internet? Is it an oversight committee?
So I think there's two users. In my opinion, there's two users. There's people that are, let's say, professional developers that are, or security researchers that are like, keeping an eye on soft targets or looking for work to improve. There's also like new potential developers that are looking for code to review, right? So I think from an educational perspective, it can be a really easy way to choose what to work on if you're trying to make your name in the Bitcoin world. I'd say those are the two main targets.
Yeah, that
But
makes,
other use cases, I think that'd be really interesting to hear as well if you have other ideas.
Yeah, like the use case for the open PRs, I think makes a ton of sense. Like if there was just an ordered list of open PRs by like degree of rigor on reviews, then it'd be really easy for like a new contributor to say, oh, this PR has the least amount of review that's open out of all of them. I'm going to start with that one.
Or even like, or like this has a lot of attention on it right now. Do you also want to look at it?
Yeah, like
that's
maybe
great.
it's super interesting for on either end.
There's a site that's kind of like that. It's optimized for like actual core developers. It's bitcoinaxe.com.
Axe?
Like ACKS. And yeah, like that's kind of like a lot of devs use to like find like what needs review and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this is like kind of different products, but yeah, it's pretty similar.
One question I had, I think you might have mentioned that, I think you said something like this is one of like 4 implementations or something. Did you mean that from like a UI layout point of view?
I mean,
or what do you mean?
One of the challenges in the hackathon is working with multiple humans and multiple AIs to produce a singular product, which is, I think, part of the reason that this the BitDoom workflow is kind of interesting. There are several different robots participating in that process, and it seems like a couple of humans as well. You guys did a great thing. The challenge of creating a demonstrable product with multiple AIs is that how do you if you're going to ask the AI, oh, build me an app or like build me a backend or build me a front end, you still need to have that integrated component. Right. And so without having initially, if we had started with, build me an app that has an API at port 5000 and serves off of port 80 or whatever, that might have been a helpful part of the prompt. And then you could split the effort between multiple machines. But as it turned out, we just really struggled to get that integrated result. So we went with the prettiest one.
Yeah, we spent like 45 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes building a super prompt, right? That really described the project as well as we could. And then we gave it to Grok, and Grok gave us an output that we try to put on a server, and it sort of actually works, but it's not as pretty. And so then I took that same prompt, took it to V0, and with V0 we made it pretty, right? But so then it's like different levels of integration. The data was on the server, so
yeah,
that's where it's like okay.
And like
just visual design, text hierarchy point of view, if you go back to like the original page, I don't know about you guys, but to me it feels pretty, like if I squint, I feel like I can see whenever that loads. It seems pretty good. Like, I mean, if I just kind of squint, you can nitpick, obviously, like there's some contrast issues maybe with the tab, a little hard to read the open PRs, or maybe that's just the screen, I don't know. But overall, it seems like hierarchy's pretty good. I don't know. Yeah.
Do you guys like this setup where you have the maintainers on the left and then this tab? Does that make sense? Maybe I feel like for mobile it might not work. For mobile it might be like right. Second.
It's important to know who the active maintainers are to answer this problem question that we have. It's not necessarily important for the user, but it appeared because we are curious about whether this procedural step is being followed that maintainers, we would hope, are not shipping code that they wrote, like not merging code.
Yeah,
that they
from
wrote.
a security perspective, they're the ones that have the power to write code to GitHub. So you want to know what they're doing. And I think from like the security dimension of it might be a page that like lets you sort of
select which devs
surf
to,
that,
yeah.
you know. Mm. Right.
I think something too is like I think most people don't even know what a PR is. Like they just want to update to like the next version. So something just like being able to like see like, okay, from commits from version 26 to 27, was there any self merges? And like, can you describe what actually changed in here and like how does that affect my node? Like that would be like probably more actionable to the user than just like, oh, PR 25,000 had this in it. Like they don't know what the fuck that means, let alone like 80% of PRs in Bitcoin Core aren't like directly related to users. It's like, oh, we updated a build system, or we fixed some CI or something. So it's like
This is like a supplement to the
it's
release
like,
notes.
Yeah, it's like or like it's an RPC change, which is like most likely the user is never going to touch that. So like it's not like actionable to them, but the important things like the wallet, they I think that like the latest Bitcoin Core release deprecated legacy wallets. So it's like, okay, that's actually important to the user, so that could be called out and they can see all the PRs related to that. But like in RPC change, they don't care about that.
Yeah, that's really
cool. Yeah.
I think there's kind of like, you have two different things here, at least from my perspective. One is like there's this static, niche, singular risk factor I want to check that you're showing me. I feel like that should live on its own static page. Like, framed in such a way, has Bitcoin been, merged into by a single contributor today? No. And then there's the functionality that you've built, which is actually pretty generic. Like, I can open up a PR and chat with an LLM about it, right? Those two ideas are kind of butting up against each other, and I feel like you could split them out. Maybe because one is a very specific use case and one is this generic use case, but obviously focused on Bitcoin.
Right.
There's such a neat product idea in the thing, and I think you nailed it with separating the two pieces.
Yeah, and then there's sort of like there's applicability to other open source code bases as well that don't have the same, let's say, niche, things that Bitcoin Core has, which we've found in this project, right? Like really trying to study how Bitcoin Core works. Can you explain the merge thing? How that?
I could try, but
yeah,
the process is like when you want to contribute to Bitcoin, you fork Bitcoin and you make commits to your own branch, and then you create a pull request back to Bitcoin Core. One of the maintainers is responsible for branching or like taking the commits from your branch and merging them as a single commit, and then signing that commit and then updating the Bitcoin repo. And if anybody out there has like a better sense of that, please like interrupt me and fix that. But the idea is that like there's then a hook, which is part of GitHub's process for, I think it's before hook, before the merge goes through. It ensures that whatever commit is being passed in has been signed by somebody on this list of 8 maintainers or 7 maintainers or whatever it is. And that list of maintainers changes over time. And yeah, so that's the one nitpicky kind of niche use case that we have. But the process of performing change to the code is not like a typical GitHub process. It's not just like press the green button and it's merged. And that's the special case.
Yeah, and it's because Bitcoin Core does not trust GitHub's merging workflow. So they built their own, and it's So that's very code base specific, but yeah.
For sure. What about, how many sats is that?
It's
I
like,
don't know. I
$6,000,
know what it was at
6,000.
100K. I don't know what it is now. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
No audio, but I think I might need a Mac adapter. Sorry. Sorry, everyone. In the meantime, maybe I can just explain to you what the core of my idea is. And there's really not much to look at on the website anyway. I did produce a proof of concept during the 2-hour hackathon, but it's pretty simple once you see it. So the inspiration for my idea came from a quote by JP Morgan: "Gold is money and everything else is credit." And I think most of the community in the Bitcoin world is focused on fixing the money, and rightfully so. But even if you scale the money and there's an L2 like Lightning or something that really scales the money really well, that doesn't solve for credit. Like, credit still exists, and not to reinvent the banking system or anything, but I think that we would still find credit useful even as a Bitcoiner, even as we interact with each other. If you're trying to scale a Bitcoin ecosystem. Oh, thank you. So, for example, if you've how many people here have ever earned Bitcoin, like worked and received Bitcoin? All right, good amount of the crowd. If you could imagine, a future Bitcoinization of the world, you would do more and more of that and less of work for fiat. And if you need to maintain your fiat credit score to qualify to buy a car or buy a house or rent an apartment, then you're kind of have a foot in both worlds. You want to maintain your fiat score and a good reputation there, but you also want Bitcoin. And if you're all in Bitcoin, then most of your wealth is in Bitcoin, and you can't prove in a bank statement that you have a lot of assets in the fiat world. And if your paycheck is in Bitcoin, you can't prove you have cash flow and pay stubs from fiat world. So what's needed and what I built is a Bitcoin credit score. So this actually, I was able to use Grok and combined with Replit to tie into a Block Explorer API. And if you paste in a Bitcoin address that has a UTXO in it, not a receive address, but it will evaluate it based on a few considerations. Oh yeah, sorry, this is really small, huh? So thank you. So it doesn't look at you as a person. That's what CBDCs would do, right? Like, oh, are you a good person? Did you buy an electric car? Are you eating vegetables? Whatever. But this is the Bitcoin version of a credit score. And so it only looks at your Bitcoin address and what can it learn from that financially. And so are you using it consistently? Where are the funding sources sourced from? What's your spending behavior and stacking behavior? So basically substitutes or proxies for cash flow, right? Are you earning money and saving every month? And wealth, or do you have a big stack? But the thing is, as Bitcoiners, we don't want to show that wallet to just anyone and reveal all that private information. So what I coded in the hackathon is a third-party solution. So you enter your Bitcoin address, it calculates a Bitcoin credit score, and you get your score result here based on a weighted activity, fund sources, spending behavior, and risk indicators. Now, obviously, this is problematic because you've just revealed your address to this third party. So what I realized from doing this is that if I could do it again, or when I fix it, I would actually make that sort of like client side, so that you could receive all of the creditors' criteria and their score algorithm, and you could sort of plug it into your own node and use your own address and sign it off in a way that they can verify that you control that address, and then deliver to them a blind sort of report of, here's my Bitcoin credit score, and it's mine because I signed the phrase that you told me to sign,
And so you control it, and no third party nor the creditor would know sort of your address or your personal information. So that's really it, other than generating the score itself. And by the way, this address has 100 Bitcoin, so it only got an 80 out of 100 with 100 Bitcoin in it. One of the other things I would change is a feature to let the creditor adjust the weighted scales. So if you want someone wealthy, you would weight that. If you want someone with more cash flow and more stacking every week, you could weight that. But there's also this share button where you create a shareable link, and you can send that, to the landlord or whatever, and then they can see the score without seeing your address, your Bitcoin address. So the idea is there. It's probably not perfect in implementation. It's really simple, graphically. I realize this is design aficionados, but maybe what I'd be interested in hearing is your comments on the the product design, and you talked earlier about faster horses and not asking for a car but faster horses. Like, no one's asking for this. No Bitcoin wants a credit score, right? Nobody wants to go back to the banking system, but it exists, and it's going to exist, and either it stays in Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian's hands, or we use it to improve our trading with each other.
Who's your target market of who you would market this to? And I'll let you answer that, and then I have thoughts around it, and that might answer what you just said.
So I guess keeping in mind sort of the peer-to-peer economy, my target is your average Bitcoiner. I've worked for Bitcoin, I've earned Bitcoin, I've had fiat jobs, and I've realized the sort of dilemma of wanting to maintain a fiat reputation but having a Bitcoin belief system. So how do you merge those? And I think the answer is to take control of the credit scoring and not let it fall into a CBDC hands or let it stay in fiat hands.
So my
friend that only has Bitcoin, trying to get an apartment, didn't have proof of income or something like that, all these weird scenarios. I feel like this could help theoretically if you take it to the extreme, showing proof of solvency, I can pay rent.
Exactly.
I think Sawhill's getting to my point is not necessarily the individual user, but what businesses might use this. And it seems like your first target market might be Bitcoin lenders, like an Unchained or others that would directly use this.
Anyone know anyone from Unchained?
Can you help me understand? Can you help me understand how you can derive, let's say, credit worthiness from on-chain history? Like what analysis are you doing there? Because in theory, all you see is money coming in and money leaving an address or a set of addresses. But what does that tell you about the person's, let's say, reliability or trustworthiness or this or that?
Yeah, so this, you probably can't read this, but this is the scoring details. I used Grok to help me think through how the algorithm would look for the credit scoring. And so this drills down into detail a lot of what it's using from on-chain information in order to evaluate things. It's things like transaction frequency, the age of the address, the balance trends, so balance going up or trending down, metrics of input address analysis, taint check, are the funds from a hacked, documented hack or something, exchange interaction. And I realize that there's a huge red flag with once you start tainting coins, that's a slippery slope, but it exists, it's already information out there. For spending behavior, there's output patterns, hoarding versus spending, transaction size, and then for risk indicators, there's mixing signs, dust transactions, and cluster size. So, this is just what it spat out, and I did in 2 hours. I would obviously have a lot more tweaking to that algorithm if I were to go try to make it into a business or something. And especially that's why I wanted to keep it adjustable to the creditor so that they can weight the algorithm differently and highlight what they value for in the people that they're counterparties.
Supposed to
reuse an address in general.
Right, you're not supposed to reuse an address, and that's why I also would redo it. Instead of giving the address to a third party, I would allow you to basically you would bring in the algorithm into your own client side node and run it on your own information and data, and then you could just send the report back without any private information. You could reveal however much you want. Like if I only wanted to show that I had, a small amount, I could show what's necessary for that creditor, right? You could divide it, or if I wanted to show my entire holdings, I could. But I think someone before asked about the use case, I think there's just something, it's obviously not one for one, reporting your income or reporting your wealth, but it's sort of a proxy for that. And the reason we have 3 credit reporting agencies is because none of them are perfect. So even if this provides one data point and there's other companies that provide other data points, someone else mentioned integrate it with social so that you have reputational, vouching for people and saying that they're that's also another great way to do it. Maybe the answer isn't to put it all into one solution. Maybe that's another thing you evaluate is the person's reputation in the community, but just purely from financial addresses, you can deduce something.
I've got 2 comments real quick here. One is design, one's engineering. On the design front, I think it feels very familiar to me to what I would expect from a credit scoring website to look like in the fiat world. So I think that's a huge win because, even though it doesn't look sexy, it looks familiar. And, I think, trying to break familiarity is probably a bad step with users, especially when you're trying to talk about something, maybe that feels a little scary sometimes, like Bitcoin. So I think it looks great, I think. And on the engineering side, talk about this idea of we don't want to reuse addresses. What if we could do this locally? But then it starts begging the question of if you're running it locally, what assurances does that give the person who's actually checking your creditworthiness? Made me thinking, we got open secret people in the room and all that. Perhaps this is, some kind of tool for confidential computing. Perhaps you could have some kind of open source mechanism for being able to validate the creditworthiness of an entire XPub or an entire series of addresses or what have you. And you could, run that in a confidential compute environment that could be, verifiably, you could verify the output of it. I don't know, that shit's a little complicated, crazy, more engineer than I can handle, but throwing the idea out there.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. That's great feedback. And obviously, given more time and serious approach to this, that would be a great idea, a great approach.
It's not a credit score, but it's like proof of reserve sort of thing. So sorry.
Okay.
Proof of reserve sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay.
Similar concept.
But it's a third party that you have to. It's a third party that you have to trust. And I wonder if you know more about the possibility of using zero knowledge proof to blind that attestation.
I don't.
They might be
but
very interested.
Yeah.
In hearing
Okay.
about that.
Great suggestion. Thank you.
Because we talked about this earlier when you were showing me, and I realized going to the client side, it's the user needs to be able to do it from the client side to keep their privacy, but they need to attest to your service that I followed your protocol and that I scored myself correctly, and then your service needs to attest to the person that's checking the credit that this person used our protocol and we verified that and we're giving you. So it's like a chain of 2 attestations to get to the end user that can verify without anyone knowing along the way the original address it came from.
Right.
Well, so one thing you'll have to keep in mind too is that if you don't know how much Bitcoin is at stake in these addresses, then the attestation process becomes gameable, because I could create a very good credit score with $5 worth of Bitcoin, and if you don't know how much money I put at stake, then you wouldn't know that there's $5 worth of Bitcoin. So it becomes very cheap. So you kind of the only way to protect against that is to have like you have to have money at stake, right? So like it would be like an actual person's wage or savings or the like a relevant amount of HODL value, and then how do you communicate that in a way that doesn't dox the addresses becomes also tricky. But you would have you basically would want the person, you would want them to zero knowledge attestate the total amount that they moved as well, like the numeric volume, even if you obfuscate it with tiers or something like that. Otherwise, it just becomes trivial to.
Right, and as a user, you could still segment like what you're showing them as the total volume, but yes, you would want to like the total amount would be some part of it. Using XPubs rather than one single wallet would probably be advisable. So yeah.
We have time for one more.
This is small, but you have like risk indicators, and they're adding to your score. So like, if normally a risk indicator would be bad, so I feel like it's like you have 20 out of 20. It's adding 20 points to your thing, but it kind of feels unintuitive. It should be like.
Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, even though it probably means that it's highly scoring low risk.
Yeah,
but
like it sounds like you have 20 risk indicators.
I mean, honestly, I didn't look at a line of code. The AI did it all, so it could be giving a high score to really risky situations. I have no idea.
All the safety score outputs.
Okay, yeah, good point. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, thanks, guys. I mean, we're pretty much done. I think maybe just some thanks for all the presenters. That was really cool. That was actually freaking awesome. I wasn't here for the actual hackathon. Thanks to you guys, obviously. Thanks to the sponsors, Bitcoin Park, Bitcoin Commons. They paid for the food and all that kind of stuff, so that's cool. Thanks to Nate for being the guest host. Awesome job. I think so. Pretty cool. Yeah. And yeah, see you next time. Oh, this whole week, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Tomorrow, there's something, right? There's HRF something. I don't know if that's open or not. I think you have to sign up for a wait list or whatever. Thursday's BitDevs. Definitely show up for that. Friday, there's Bitcoin Takeover if you don't have tickets. I'm not sure what to do about that.
Thursday's also startup day.
Thursday Startup Day, Pleb Lab, which is next door.
That's going to be in here all day.
Okay, so yeah, it's just a whole week of stuff. I think there's something on Saturday. There's like a movie screening, right? Dirty Coin, that's here. Yeah, so it's a lot. So enjoy, and thanks for coming out.